Good afternoon. My name is Mike Traugott, and I'm the interim director of the Center for Political Studies and a research professor there. And I'm honored to be here this afternoon with the Converse family and to say a few words about my remembrances of Phil. I'm very fortunate to have had two important mentors in my career who were my academic advisors and later became my colleagues. The first was Stanley Kelly, my undergraduate thesis advisor, and the other was Phil Converse, the chair of my dissertation committee. As a dissertation chair, Phil was always available for consultation, especially if you knew his work schedule. He could be found late at night at ISR, as Kent remarked, working on his own projects and often laboring over his own prose. One of Phil's distinguishing characteristics was the quality of his writing, obviously due to his early academic interest in literature and his graduate work in English and in writing. But what I want to talk about today is working with Phil as a collaborator. Regrettably, I only had one experience in this role, but it was memorable. In my early 30s, I was literally astounded that Phil, then the director of ISR, approached me to ask if I would co-author a piece with him. The topic was the interpretation of poll results in the media, and the venue was science. Phil had been contacted by the editors about preparing such a piece due to the growing visibility of polls in the media. He obviously could have prepared this short article on his own, but he reached out to me, I assume, because of my interest in media polls and experiences with news organizations and potential to contribute something. The ostensible reason for this piece was to provide an explanation for the sources of discrepancies in the pre-election polls in 1984. But there were increasing instances of polls on the same topic where either the general public or policymakers could be confused by different results at a minimum, or pick and choose which results were most supportive of positions that they already held. That started a month-long process of collaboration. It began with a meeting to discuss a broad outline for the piece. Phil and I didn't have any conflicts about the content, but he was very attentive to the structure of the argument and the order in which key points were to be made. And we didn't have any difficulty in preparing our respective sections of the initial draft. The real fun was observing Phil rework the text as he applied his wordsmithing skills to the organization of the text, as well as to his precise use of specific terms in what he felt was a kind of lay audience of mostly bench scientists who had little familiarity with the principles and procedures of survey methods. Learning by observing, this was an experience that I treasured and have tried to replicate throughout my own career. The best part of this experience is that it started Phil and me down a path of periodic lunches that lasted almost 30 years. We only got together 3 or 4 times a year, and of course there was a big gap when Phil and his family went to California for a period of time. But it was easy to start up again when Phil came back to Ann Arbor. They were easygoing get-togethers at the Cottage Inn, and current issues and public opinion research were the main topic of conversation. Through these lunches, I learned about Phil's manuscript, about the 2000 election of George W. Bush, what Phil referred to as his screed about the realignment of the geography of political allegiances in the United States. After what he felt was an interminable delay in trying to secure a publisher, he took care of circulating his manuscript on his own, publishing it under the pseudonym of Gene Sido. We last had lunch last summer, although I saw Phil and Gene a few times in the fall after they had moved to Glacier Hills. Lunch was at a different location because Phil was concerned about his ability to drive to restaurants around town. The problem with losing a friend who suffers from a relatively rapid decline in health is that you never understand or appreciate the fact that this could be the last time that you might see him. I miss Phil, my friend and colleague, and one-time collaborator, because of what he brought to our conversations, the sharpness and the precision of his thinking about politics, his dedication to providing empirical substantiation to an argument beyond reproach, and the warmth of his friendship.